WW7N. This is Jessica KF7, UHK monitoring.
Good evening, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters, and it's a crossband repeater that spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz at NTSC. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll find the exact frequencies we transmit and receive on. And also you'll find a link that'll take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for this net. This is for our voice transmissions. So I'll pause momentarily in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact before we get our net fully underway. Again, this is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net.
K7ITX.
Welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Signed on by video link already is Ron, KD7QKU, Jessica, KS7UHK, Lee, N7KC, in and out, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else that would like to join the net at this point? Hearing none, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Again, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's start off the net with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, well thank you very much, Dave. Good evening to the group, KD7QKU. Well, I see Richard's here, so I know he's not laying on the operating table at the hospital. So anyway, oh my, let's see, what have I done the last couple of days? Seems like I'm busy, but I don't do very much. I was just getting out of the shower tonight, and I got a telephone call from the neighbor around the corner, Steven. He wanted me to take him downtown Tacoma. He belongs to this social group, and they meet up at these places, and I guess he was probably going to do a little drinking, and he didn't want to drive. So I asked him how he was going to get home. He said he would take Uber home or something. it's kind of fun to go down there. I don't know my way around very well. I have a GPS in my pickup and I have my home address. So when there was some excitement going down there was a policeman sitting in the middle of the street, and then there was some banners up and some balloons and stuff. There was something going on. I don't know exactly what. I don't know if that's where he was going. But anyway, I stopped on the edge of the street and let him out. And at the next stoplight or stop sign or something, I found my address in the GPS and punched go, and it told me to turn right on 9th Street. Well, that was 9th Street, so I turned right, went all the way up to Sprague, turned right, went over to 6th, turned left, and came on home. When I get to 6th Avenue, I know where I'm at, so I can find my way home all right. So anyway, not too much exciting going on here for Memorial Day. My son said he was going to barbecue Monday afternoon, and we were invited. We have some friends coming over tomorrow, and Joanne's brother and sister and brother-in-law are going to come over. They know it's Merlin and Diane. They live in Magnolia. They're in pretty bad shape now. They're our age, but Merlin's had some serious problems. He was the guy that needed a kidney replacement, and then he got shingles, and he got it in his eye, in his face, and so he's having difficulty seeing out of one eye. And then he set himself on fire in his shop, and he had to roll around, and he spent a month in Harborview getting over that. And so, I mean, gee, many Christmas. He's been through a lot in the last year or so, but he still gets around. So they're going to come over. I kind of wish maybe they wouldn't, but I mean, I like them and I'd like to see them, but you know, out driving, they're both not very well, so I don't know. They don't want to stay home, so whatever. All right, back to Ned, KD7QKU.
7QKU, thanks for that. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
KF7UHK. Wow, Ron, big thoughts to your friend there, friend and friends. That boy, that's like a bunch of double whammies. You know, fire and shingles and you know everything else that goes along with it. Oh my goodness, no good at all. Well, let's see. It's Memorial Day weekend. I get a day off, and a paid day off. Isn't that great? And but Sylvia has decided to work. So, doing her investigation job at Boeing, she'll be there for the next couple of days. She's what she does is if someone has a thing they're putting together, and you know it doesn't call out the right part, or the right part doesn't fit for some reason, or the thing doesn't work, she goes in and looks at all the paperwork and tries to figure out what should be there and what's called out, and then gives recommendations to planners or engineers on how to make it correct. So that's what she does all day, and should be interesting. I'm glad she does it, not me, because it takes a lot of detailed work at fine print, and I'm terrible at fine print. You know, it's kind of like when you go buy a house and they say you have all these documents to look through. She wants to read them all. And I'm not so good at reading all those little things they always sit in front of you and say, here, you need to read and initial all these things. I'm just like, oh, I'm sure they're good. I'm just gonna initial them all. Here you go. You know, so so that's still Sylvia's forte, is looking at fine detail with a fine-tooth comb, and she'll slow down enough to do it. I can't do that. Tonight I'm making a meatloaf, kind of a simple meatloaf, and tomorrow we're gonna have smoked salmon. So that's what's on the register here in the Everett condo. I'm gonna pass it back to Jessica. KF7UHK.
UHK. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bottle.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, I've had an eventful week and a half or so since I was here last. I went to Cincinnati with a friend of mine, Chris, KC8MUS, who's from there, and stayed with his family, and we drove up to Dayton Friday and Saturday for the Hamvention. And it is huge. It's thanks, Jim. It's from the it's in a different location than when I went last. I drove down there from Chicago in the early 90s, and it's been that long since I've been. But they're at a fairgrounds now, and somewhat similar to Puyallup. And so they've got 5 big buildings, you know, where you normally would have the animals and all of that kind of stuff, and they have places with you know, seating in between the buildings where they do the showing. But all 5 buildings were filled up with the commercial stuff, and just jam packed. And they had then the flea market outside was massive. I mean, I thought we went through it. The first day was pretty wet, so and it got muddy, so we just spent a little time outdoors, then went inside. The second day was sunny and warm and humid, and we went out, and there was a whole other section to the flea market that I wasn't even aware of. Just huge, row after row after row. And, you know, a lot of it was, as Chris said, you know, people brought their basements out to sell. They cleaned out the basement. But there was some interesting stuff there, too. I didn't find a whole lot of ATV gear. One of the commercial places, I think it was a club, I'm not sure, but I think they were selling. They had the same DVPT gear that I've got, and Bert has, and I think Wade has some. I forget who all has it. But they had some of those there. But just all the big companies were there, and actually one of the more interesting ones to me personally was ARRL. You know, they had the biggest, you know, collection of booths of all, and they have what they call the Clean Signal Initiative, which is something for transmitting, because, you know, even very good radios like my Elecraft K3, for example, it's got great receiver side, but the transmitter side is just kind of average, and it's not as clean as it should be, and they're calling attention to that. I mean, that's true across the board. There aren't a lot of radios that have really given that the attention it deserves, and they're calling that out and trying to get the manufacturers to improve on those transmitting signals. So, especially with things like you know, digital, where you're all on the same frequency, and you're just picking out different audio frequency ranges within that. It's a lot more important to not be stepping on others. Anyway, that's for starters. I'll have more to say later. This is K9PQ. Back to net control.
KNPQ, thanks for the report on the Ham Convention. And it's time for an ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to Richard, K7ITX in Arizona.
Hey, well, hi everyone. Good to see you. Bob, you might have missed my story last net, where the house I'm staying at right now has a hammock, and you know, and I saw it in the pictures, and I was kind of looking forward to it. You know, boy, first opportunity. You know, I jumped right in it, you know, got it in the shade, and oh, I was really relaxing nicely, but I couldn't get out. Well, I did get out. I ended up falling out, and it was in rocks and gravel, and it was pretty miserable. So, but I'm happy to report Debbie taught me how to get in and out successfully. So. Yeah, well, not only did plus she adjusted it to its highest setting, so I would get the most leverage out of my body with my weakling legs. And that, basically what you do is you straddle it to get in, and you straddle it to get out, and I hold both sides to pull myself up. Then I lift the leg out, and that seemed to be, it was so successful that when, Mika ended up climbing in with me. So that was pretty fun. So anyway, let's see. I know how easy it is to time this thing out. So I just have one last story, and I'll take a break so I don't time it out. So, anyway, the last story is, it's kind of cool. So it turns out Debbie has a friend who has a friend, so it's a friend of Debbie's friend who lives down here from Albuquerque with her husband Dave, who got a lung transplant at St. Joseph's Hospital where I'm at 8 years ago. And so we went out to lunch together, and it was really a lot of fun for me to hear his stories, and plus things are quite a bit different actually in some respects between 8 years ago and now. So they're real curious about some of the things I'm going through, and obviously I was curious about what he went through. Weirdly enough, he's in chronic rejection right now. But that's not as strange as it sounds. He's been in chronic rejection for 4 years. And so they have, I guess, drugs to treat you during chronic rejection, and actually some people, pull you out of it. So, anyway, he's looking pretty good after 8 years, and like we both talked about, it's just freedom from being hooked up to these tubes. You're kind of tethered to a 30, 50-foot tube in your house, which, that's great for walking, around your house, but try to go outside, you can't, And so then you've got these portables that you carry that weigh about 15 pounds, so they're not the lightest thing in the world, and then they make a lot of noise. And then the alternative to that is a tank that's about 3 foot tall and on wheels, and try, loading that into your car and unloading it every time you go to the grocery store. And it's just, a lot of people just don't do any of those things. They're just homebound the rest of their life. So this is what I'm trying to shake, is having that issue. And another 8 years sounds pretty nice to me without having these tubes and the ability to breathe normally through your nose and not be hooked up to anything. So anyway, it was a very nice restaurant. I ate my head off. I had smoked ribs, and I wasn't going to do it because I know what a big mess it makes, but I didn't care. I got all over my face, pretty, towel after towel. So anyway, it was still, it was pretty cool. So with that, K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX, and we wish you well with your upcoming surgery. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Ron, your friend Merlin, that's a sort of an unusual name. I know another fellow who was named Merlin, who worked for the post office for a career. Did Merlin work for the post office? No. Okay. Well, different Merlin. Wow. Talk about a string of bad luck. My God. I mean, even setting yourself on fire. Man, that's a bummer. I don't know. I wish him luck. His guardian angel must be on strike for a pay raise or something. I don't know. Man. Jessica, paid holidays? What's that? My goodness. That's great. You know, in my industry, they don't pay. Frequently, you wind up getting extra pay if you wind up working on a holiday. Well, not in my industry. And so what happens is the senior people who couldn't care less in many respects if they have the day off or not, they wind up being off just because they can. And the younger people, not me, but people who have young children at home, who might want to go somewhere with their family or whatever, they wind up being stuck working more often than not. So we've been trying for years to get the industry to change and just kick in a few extra bucks for working the holiday, and then some of the empty nesters would probably go to work just because it means a few extra bucks. Toss them an extra bone, you know. But I'm glad you're off, and meatloaf today, smoked salmon tomorrow. That sounds yummy. It has been a long time since I've had meatloaf. I'm going to have a talk with my personal chef. Although I better make sure she's not close to the knife rack. So anyway, sounds good. Bob, Cincinnati, and then the Dayton Ham Fest. Yeah, I went to two of them back in the 70s in Dayton, and they were pretty impressive then. I would bet they've only grown. I don't know. It's another one of those things on the wish list, one of about 1 million things. But glad you were able to do that. Sounds like you had a good time. And yeah, I've made that observation too. A lot of the transmitters on radios seem to be pretty much the same. And when you buy a rig, what you're really paying for is a better quality receiver. I don't know. That's just the way it is. So I don't know the intent of that concept that they're talking about. But do they want everyone to buy new rigs, expensive rigs? Yeah, well, yeah. That's not going to happen. Sorry. Anyway, that's why part of why they call it amateur radio, perhaps. Anyway, Dick, the hammock. Wait a minute. I heard you say Deb put it on the highest setting. To me, that means you've got further to fall. I don't know, but apparently she showed you some technique, and that's more effective. So that's good. When you said that on the last net, I didn't say it, but I remember seeing a video of some bear cub that climbed into a hammock, and he was having a similar problem, and he fell out of the hammock. I don't know. I guess it's one thing if you're a bear, but if you're like us, nah, you don't want to be falling out of things anymore. And so that's why you said higher setting. That doesn't sound like a good idea, but I'll trust your judgment on that one. And let's see. Chronic rejection for 4 years out of the last 8. Wow. I don't know how to take that. I wonder if there are any other side effects to the chronic rejection. There probably are, or maybe he needs extra medication, which may have side effects themselves. I don't know. It sounds like it can't be a good thing, but obviously it's not a life-ending thing. So that's good. That's encouraging. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
Connected K7ITX.
Yeah, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to James, WU7N.
To repeat myself now. Let's see, what I was going to say is I have a new symbol for a bright idea. I'll start using this at board meetings. See, get it? Well, anyway, I was going to tell you that I do know bears that get in and out of hammocks, but if you watch them, they just make it barely. And let's see, the other thing I was going to say is, you know that the AR is serious when they make a flyer. And so here's a share screen. Here's the AR Clean Signal Initiative flyer. Now, I don't know if they're trying to direct this in specifically at people like me or not, but I noticed that's the top of the flyer. It talks about creating benchmarks, driving transmitter design improvements, awareness and education. And then in the bottom part, it's got this section about the Technical Information Service Program at the ARRL Lab. So if you're stuck on a project or can't get a new radio on the air, if you're a member, you can get expert answers to operating and technical questions via email or phone for free. Whoever's doing this is a great idea. I mean, this might convince me to become a member, because I have questions sometimes about things, and it's just kind of nice to bounce it off someone who would know, and if they don't know, I bet you they know someone who does know. So anyway, that's kind of nice. Thank you for the pointer, Bob. You know, when there's a flyer out, they're serious. What else? Oh, Ron, I was going to say, I hope your friend heals. It doesn't sound good if he's got shingles in his eye and severely burned in an accident. I don't know what else could go wrong. I hope he heals quickly. And Jessica, meatloaf and smoked salmon. Okay, let's get a little contrasting diet here. I went to Grocery Outlet and bought a bag of frozen bean and cheese burritos. Now, I haven't done this in a couple of years. I got them home and noticed they have corn oil in them, and so when I ate it, I could feel my genes mutating. But also, a burrito, no, they're like beef and cheese bonbons. They've shrunk in size, 8 in a bag. They're about this big. So, yeah, that was, I mean, they're like a little snack now. You could stick a toothpick in them. Well, maybe cut them in half in 2 toothpicks. And make hors d'oeuvres out of them, but they on a positive note, there was plenty of cheese or something they pass as office cheese in them. I think it's a different thing, but I've had people in my life say I've been in chronic rejection for half a century, but I don't know if that's exactly the same thing, probably something different. Well, so what did I do today? Well, there were breaks in the weather here in Northeast Bellevue, and so I went out and walked, talked with friends, scanning a bunch of documents for a review of estate planning, and found out my antique Hewlett-Packard printer does not scan directly to PDF documents. It does JPEGs and TIFFs, but I think the new Word version, I do have the latest and greatest version of Word, I think you can actually drop a TIFF into a Word document and convert it and then save it as a PDF, which is a kind of a goofy way to do it, but I think that might work. If anybody's actually done that, let me know, or any other strange conversions. It's interesting. This printer is so old, it does kind of tell you how far things have come, because it scans and will save as all these goofy things you've never heard of before. So at the time they put the printer out, I guess these were contenders. It was kind of like the VHS versus the Beta wars. But I've learned a lot about it. A PDF was never intended, I don't think, to really be a document format. It was for pictures. But that's kind of the lingua franca of the financial and legal world now, is to have things scanned as PDF documents.
ITX disconnected. K7ITX timeout.
Richard disconnected and then timed out, so hopefully he'll get back on quickly. Well, that's all I have here for Northeast Bellevue. This is James, WW7N with the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. I'm going to turn it back to our net control. Dave, take it away.
WW7N, thanks for that. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Again, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Oh my, I feel for Ron with his friend. I think it's called aging. I think a lot of us are getting there. There's fewer days ahead than what's been left behind. So anyway, everything's catching up with us as we age out. Oh my gosh. And for me, I got a gardener came in this last couple of days, and I had ivy that took over a whole flower bed area, and the gardener got that out and trimmed a couple of big bushes and did a lot of work around the house on the yard, so that was good to get that out of the way. Trimmed some trees, but the ivy, oh my gosh, I've got 10 garbage cans filled with ivy, plus the big, 90-gallon recycle bin filled up with ivy also. So a lot of that came out of the house. So I'll probably in the next couple of weeks be filling up that 90-gallon bin and trying to get rid of it through the city refuge. So at least I did have a way of stockpiling what was left. So that's pretty much what's been happening here. And when talking about a hammock, the first time I used a hammock, I did a face plant when I got out of it. So I joined the club of not knowing how to get in and out. But I did notice on some of these cruises they've got, they have hammocks out on this little deck. So I don't know, be careful if you go over the deck trying to get out of your hammock if you're on the deck on a cruise ship. So that would be an interesting factor to observe or not try to participate in a hammock. So that's about it. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. And oh my gosh, Jessica, trying to inspect things on a Boeing plane. I don't know. Find out why things didn't fit. I think the worst thing is things that didn't get put into the plane. So that'd be kind of interesting to see what happens. It's sort of a job that nobody likes to participate in. So that's pretty much it. And Bob, I don't know how much you paid for bringing your luggage back home from the Ham Fest, or was there 2 extra bags of things that you picked up? So anyway, I think the airlines made a profit on you coming back home. So anyway, that's what's happening. So I'll let you go. This is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. So we'll go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thanks again, Dave. KD7QKU is here. Yeah, Bob, man, that sounds fantastic. You went to the Dayton Ham Fest. You're the only, well, I suppose there are other people I've known have gone there, but maybe Chuck and Dixie did or something. But I don't remember anybody talking about it. That was fantastic. I wish I could have been there, for sure. So today I went to the Ham Club meeting, and I picked up a copy of their roster. They have 250 members or more. And in here they have in here they have what they call the Elmer board. And so they have pictures of about 8 different people that are Elmers and their phone numbers and emails and everything. And if you have any kind of a problem, you can call them and they'll help you with it. This club is a great club, that's for sure. So anyway, what else has been going on? Well, it was interesting to hear Richard's report that he met another fellow that had a lung transplant. Had lunch with him. I mean, that's marvelous. And the guy having rejection, but apparently it's under control. Hopefully, he was able to go out and have lunch and everything. And you said he didn't look too bad. 8 years. That's good. Really good. I was just trying to think. It seems like I'm busy every day, but I don't know. I don't do anything significant. I had to buy another plastic tarp to put over my little pipe frame where I keep the boat. That tarp had just disintegrated. Maybe I talked about that last time. And I got that taken care of. We haven't had much rain. We had 400ths of an inch of rain the other day. Not much going on here. I've been trying to get this. I have a sprinkler system on my trees. It's a little more than drip. It has a little bitty spray nozzle. And I had taken the timer off of it, taken the batteries out. Well, of course, when you do that, you lose the program. So I put the batteries back in it, and I tried to reprogram it. I guess I'm getting old and dumber and dumber and dumber. I did something wrong. Maybe yesterday was a day it wasn't supposed to sprinkle. I thought it was supposed to sprinkle every day. The system was supposed to go every day. I wanted it to go 5 minutes. And so I wanted it to go in the morning and in the evening, but yesterday it didn't do anything. And I got up this morning and I could see that it had turned on this morning. So I don't know if it turned on tonight or not. I couldn't find PM. So I switched to military time, and then I set it up on military time because I was going to have it come on, 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening. Well, that wasn't, I figured out if I couldn't find 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., that wasn't going to work. So I've been messing with that. And like I say, it worked this morning. I don't know if it's worked tonight. I didn't go out and look. But I should probably do that when I get through here. Run out and look real quick. So it's always nice to hear what you guys are doing and everything. As a matter of fact, Jim, we had meatloaf tonight too. And you can buy meatloaf over here at the deli and the Safeways. So if you get desperate, you can buy some meatloaf. Joanna makes a pretty good meatloaf. We're going to have a pot roast tomorrow. We're having people over for dinner tomorrow afternoon. And the Indianapolis 500 race is tomorrow. And I was, I'm disappointed that let me let her drop. I'm disappointed that they don't talk about it very much on anything on my cable TV. And so I went to YouTube and I found the time trials. And so I was watching them time in. There was a lady named Catherine, I can't remember her last name now. She made there's 36 cars, I think, that made it into the race for her. And the race is going to be tomorrow. I think it starts at 8 o'clock. She made it. The fastest car that I saw time in, they do 4 different time trials. And then it's the average. But the fastest time that I saw a guy do was 141. Most of them time in about 133, 134. So anyway, the bottom cars don't go that fast. So looks like there's going to be 36 cars and start the race tomorrow. So that's going to be kind of interesting. So that's enough out of me, I guess. Back to net KD7QKU. And I'm going to disappear for a second. We'll see if the sprinkler works. KD7QKU, back to net.
KU. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
Yeah, to go to military time. That's what we do at bus driving. They always use military time. So if you don't know military time, military time, you'll learn it really quick because otherwise you wouldn't know what you're doing. Because they use that as instead of saying Roger on the radio, they always give the time on there to kind of timestamp whatever we say or whatever they say, and it's very handy. Let's see, iron lungs. I was thinking about the old-fashioned iron lung. Once I saw a TV show called Mannix, and somebody was coming in to try to murder someone who was in an iron lung, and they unplugged it, and it was just the scariest. To me, it was just the scariest show. Just the iron lung. The whole look of it just looked medieval. It really did. And I'm so glad that I don't think they use those anymore. Missing bone parts. Yeah, well, the nice thing is this job here, she does less of that crawling underneath the floorboards in jetliners than she did in her last iteration of this job, where they'd have to go in and follow down a wire because the wire didn't make it somewhere, so you have to follow a wire somewhere underneath floorboards with spars that you're trying to crawl over, so it's not a nice smooth crawl at all. And usually there's other people in there trying to do other things around you with all sorts of tools and hot things. And so, hopefully someone gets their act in order so those kind of things don't go as wrong as they have in the recent history. James, TIFF, JPG, and GIFs, and other iterations of things. Sylvia always says, I need to have my pictures in a certain file. I think it's TIFF. It's a file that when she scales it, it doesn't lose information, and she's very adamant about, I have to have my things in a certain format. Me, I just use JPG, and if I lose information when I scale them up, I don't care that much. So some people are really adamant about which files they use, and it's interesting that there's some left behind. And of course the old WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. I tell that to young kids, and they've never heard of a WYSIWYG when you used to have a dot matrix printer, and that was one of the choices of if things don't work out of what the format is, you just use WYSIWYG, and usually it works somehow. In some way it would work. Overtime, let's see, this is for Jim. She's on kind of a rotating schedule of overtime, and it just happened to come up, or else she might have raised her hand because it'll pay off well in the paycheck when she does overtime like this, and so it works out. But that does leave me hanging, So I got to go shopping today. Went and got some medicine for the cat. I watched a movie, did a little relaxing, did a little cleaning house. So that's my MO for the day. And then Dick and the hammock. My parents had a hammock in the backyard of their Mercer Island house, and loved to try and get on that thing. But it was a tricky kind of thing. You gotta really be careful, because if you don't do it right, you're becoming a ground squirrel really quick. Hey, I'm gonna check out of here. I'm gonna say my 73 because Sylvia's gonna get in the door in just a few minutes, and I'm gonna go feed her. And so I'm going to say 73, and I'll see you all next time. This is Jessica KF7 UHK.
K7ITX.
UHK, thanks for joining the net. We got your 73. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Well, hi again, everybody. Interesting net, and I made a lot of notes, but I decided to not comment on any of the others, just to continue on with my trip, because I got all the non-ham stuff. The one last ham thing, I was looking for one thing. I only actually bought one thing, and that's this badge, and it's very simple. For those on Zoom, we'll put them on Zoom there. But I wanted to go simple this time because the last one I bought, it had a nice picture in the back and it had colored lettering on it, and it's unreadable, completely unreadable. So I went super simple, very readable on this one. I did look at DMR radios. The one I wanted to get was not at the show, and so I ended up ordering one. It should be here soon. I'll have more to say on that after it comes. It's in the Linco though. And so my other stuff in the Cincinnati trip, so So Chris's family, they've got a nice home with acreage out there, and we saw wild turkeys on their property. We saw cardinals and blue jays, you know, things you just don't see around here. And they're like, oh, it's real common here. And one cardinal pair even had a nest with a baby in the nest. I think one had left the nest already. There was one left, so it was pretty cool to see the baby in there with its mouth open, looking for food. But they also have, so in Cincinnati, they're famous for a couple of things. They're famous for their chili, and it's an odd dish, I have to tell you. It doesn't taste like any chili you've ever had before. There's chili in it, but it's got also spaghetti, you know, not the sauce, but spaghetti noodles. So it's the chili over spaghetti noodles, and it's flavored differently as well. It doesn't taste like chili, but it tastes really good. It's got little hints of cinnamon and cocoa in it, and other spices, and then it's got just a mountain of grated cheese on the top. This finely grated, I believe it's cheddar cheese, and those three ingredients. That's called three-way chili. Four-way is you can either add onions or beans, and five-way is all five ingredients: the chili, the spaghetti, the cheese, the beans, and the onions. That would be a five-way. So I got the four-way with the beans, and it was good. It was tasty, and you know, it's a how do I want to put it? It's sort of an everyday meal. It's not like a gourmet thing, but it tastes really good and was filling and fantastic. The other thing I had that's very particular to there is something called Goetta, Goetta, and it's a breakfast sausage, and it comes in a big loaf, and you slice off the loaf. Slice off maybe a slab of about a half-inch thick or a little bit less, and fry it up on a grill for breakfast. So it's crispy on the outside, and it's basically sausage with what they call pinhead oats, also known as steel-cut oats. And it's a good mixture. A lot of people compare it to scrapple, which I've not had, but scrapple apparently tastes a lot worse unless you aren't used to it. This actually tasted very good, right? You know, my first time eating it, it's very tasty. And they, so aside from their property there, they have a farm as well. So we went out to the farm, and that's where Chris had set up a huge loop antenna that had come down in a near tornado strength windstorm that they had, and we put it back up again, and got, he has a station there to do remote use, so I'm set up to do that. I haven't tried it since I got back, but I'm set up to do that, and that should be fun to try and get around the world with that. Let me break for a second. There, they've got a lot of sort of forested hillside property, and they have a sort of an ATV, oversized ATV called a mule, Kawasaki Mule, and it's a side-by-side four-seater with a bed in the back, and we did some very ATV kind of stuff. The grass had grown up. They have like a hay there growing, and it had grown up, so the track that they mow down, where they usually take to go throughout this hillside, he got off the track. Chris's dad was driving, and so we were like trying to avoid logs and trees that were very close together. We had to back up and go back a few times, but it was fun. It was a little bit of an adventure, and I enjoyed that a lot. So I've got more, but I'm going to let other people have a turn and save some for next time. This is K9PQ, back to that.
K9PQ, thanks with that. Well, let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Okay, well, I've been having a little bit of trouble with my side of Echolink, but I think I'm okay now. Bob, what an adventure. When you started up talking about three-way and four-way, I was thinking, God, is this X-rated, or is this going to be okay for the net? Amateur radio, but okay, Chile, I guess that's okay. So that's pretty good. So golly. So and then on the home front here, we found a new place to live. We signed a 3-month lease. I didn't want to live in a condominium because, I wanted a yard for the pets and stuff. But this place, you just couldn't beat it. It's a low. Okay. Mika's been in the. I just saw a picture of Mika in the hammock again. But anyway, we went for this condo. There's only 18 in the whole complex, and the agent that I'm renting one of the condos from, happens to own 10 of the 18, and so he's in charge of the HOA, which sounds pretty convenient to be working with him. And but the cool part is beautiful green grass that regular sprinkler system going all the time. God, it's greener than anything we have at our house. And then right next to it is a real clean and beautiful swimming pool. So Debbie's excited about the swimming pool, and she bought a noodle today for the swimming pool. The pets are excited about the nice green grass, and I'm happy that it's just within 10-15 minutes of the hospital, so that's convenient. Nice area, and half the money that I've been spending on these places I've been at lately. So already my home budget, or my housing budget, has decreased by 50% that fast. So there's some extra spending money. So anyway, that's about all I know. Is we're getting ready to move on Tuesday coming up, and I'm not too sure about how Echolink is going to work there. I didn't really take a time to test it, but be that as it may, I have to think of other parts of the family at times as well. So there you go. K7ITX 73, everybody. I doubt if it'll get back to me. K7ITX 73, back to net control.
ITX, thanks for that. And time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. And the net welcomes Wade, W7ATS to the net. What say you, Wade? And apparently Wade's not able to get to his transmitter at this point. So let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see, Jim, thanks for bringing up that ARRL Clean Signal Initiative. I'll have to see if I could print that out for myself. Yeah, having something in print, I guess they're serious about that. But like I said, if it means spending a lot of money, it ain't gonna happen. And let's see. Ron, thank you for... Oh, Ron's not there. Well, okay. We'll get back to Ron. Bob, Chile. That, when you were saying that I remember when I was flying domestically, I went to a number of places where they had a Waffle House, and they had like breakfast potatoes, hash browns, or whatever, and they came up with like 4 different things that you can do to it. I don't know, scrambled, smothered, covered, something else. And I thought that was, so it made me think of some things I did 30 plus years ago. That's great. And I've been to Cincinnati a number of times, but I never did stop at any of the chili spots. So I guess I missed out on something in my life. I'm going to have to make up for that sometime. I don't have a bucket list, but maybe I should put that one on it. Well, Ron, thank you for mentioning meatloaf from Safeway. I just might have to do that. And mentioning the Indy 500, yeah, thanks. Years ago, I went to the Indy Raceway with some college buddies, but I don't remember seeing Formula One cars there. And so I'm scratching my head. Why would I go there and not see Formula Ones? But I don't know. Maybe we didn't go there like Memorial Day. Maybe they do other races. Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember. That was 50 years ago. But I'll have to try to catch at least some of the race on television tomorrow. Thanks for mentioning that. I forgot all about it. And let's see, what was I doing? Mostly I was doing some work around the house today. They have, today in Covington, they had a collection for hazmat. So I managed to get together some things and take them off to the hazmat center. And that kept me busy. And I had a pretty good picture on 1.2 tonight. Bob, I was actually able to read your little ID badge there just fine on the 1.2. So I have a better picture than usual. Not as good as it was a decade ago, but better than I've seen it in quite some time. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
N7QO, let's go to James, WU7N.
Talking about the spaghetti-like meals, and then hearing Jim talk about the waffles with the different toppings, I got reintroduced to something I must have known about this, 40 years ago. But in Canada, they have French fries they put down, and then they put stuff on top of the French fries. Every place has its own whatever it puts on there, and there's all sorts of different toppings for the French fries, and they have a name for this, which bonus points if anybody can come up with that name before the net's over. But that's one thing I remember. I heard Wade. He put a message up. I guess you guys saw it. Said his Echo Link wouldn't connect wherever he's at. Yes, Bob, it's poutine, Poutine. Bob wins the prize. Well, we only have a few minutes left, so let's turn it over to Dave, our net control. This is James, WU7N, Northeast Bellevue.
WU7N, thanks for that. Well, I was beginning to think, when I was listening to Bob about wild turkeys, I can recall doing a shoot out at Northwest Trek, and they have wild turkeys out in the field. So I got out of the tram. I was going to go get a picture of a close-up of the turkey, but it turned around and chased me. And they are really fast. I couldn't believe it, and they really gobble when they're coming at you. So that was kind of interesting. And as far as the sausage that Bob was talking about, it reminded me of something I just read recently about Spam. You take the Spam out of the can, you slice it up in small pieces, and you can fry it in a pan and use it as a substitute for sausage. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So anyway, and let's see, there was something else. Oh, meatloaf. Costco has meatloaf with mashed potatoes with their prepared prepared meals. So if you're looking for that, there's a possibility you can get that. I've seen good reviews on it. I really haven't partaked in it, but when I looked at the package, it seemed like it was not a whole lot of meatloaf, but I guess maybe you don't need a whole lot of meatloaf when you're having a meatloaf for a couple of people. So that was kind of interesting. So this is Dave, KD7CYM. And you know, for holiday pay, being in a union myself in the video side, it was a paid holiday. And then if you got called into work, it was double time. So then basically it turned out to be triple time for the day if you went into work, because you got a full day's pay plus then the double time for working. So that was always great for the holidays. So let's see, I see Wade is back. Let's try him again. W7ITL. ITL.
I wasn't ready, but it's nice to see you guys tonight. Not here in Leavenworth, so outside a little cold. I was getting ready to do some 20 meter before I went to bed. So then I thought, you know, I should get on the net. So 73. I'm going to stay on with the afternet, but nice seeing you.
Okay, this is James, WW7 third party.
Thanks with that, James, by bringing in Wade. And it's time to terminate the net. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. I'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us using WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, terminating the net at 9:01. Good evening all.